We begin this 10:30 half hour tracking Ian as the storm is a Category 2 storm in the northwestern Caribbean. It's just south of Cuba. Once it crosses over Cuba, it enters into the Gulf of Mexico and it gets stronger. Now, it is a Category 2 storm, as I mentioned. That's based on the 8 p.m. advisory from the National Hurricane Center. We get another advisory in at 11 o'clock, and sometimes those come in at 10:40, 10:45, sometimes 10:50. When that does come in, we'll get that for you. If not, during prime time, we'll have it for you at the top of the 11 o'clock show over on 11 Alive. But here's that center of circulation. We're seeing a little better view here of that eye as it's nearing the western tip of Cuba. There's the Category 2 storm. Again, this is the 8 p.m. advisory, a new advisory coming in within the next 30 minutes. But this is showing the storm getting stronger into the Gulf of Mexico as a Category 4. And we've been seeing this track move a little bit from west to east and then back to the west some. And it's really going to be interesting to see what the 11 o'clock advisory shows, because a lot of our models are showing more of a trend to the west. So we'll see if the National Hurricane Center follows that a little bit, especially after the storm moves inland. For now, though, we're showing the storm here. Again, look at this entire cone really is where we see the margin of error, where we think the center could go. But right now, the Hurricane Center showing the slowing down before landfall, and that's not good news for the western coast of Florida. We have a hurricane warning in effect, including the Tampa-St. Pete area. It's going to be bringing in a lot of wind, a lot of rain, and the storm surge, water just continuously moving in there along the coast. Then we have to watch the remnants of this storm. That's the center of the circulation right here that the National Hurricane Center is thinking where it would go. That would be to the east of us. But again, remember, this cone of uncertainty shows the margin of error. The center of circulation could go closer to Atlanta or into West Georgia, or it could go over into the Carolinas. So I'm really going to be interested to see this 11 o'clock advisory to see if that center of circulation shifts a little bit more over to the west, which will be closer to us here in Atlanta. And that would have specific impacts on how we would be affected by it. So the consensus of the models does show that track over on the east side, but you see a lot of them over here closer to Atlanta and on the west side too. So they're still not in total agreement. So as we look ahead to our potential impacts from Ian, we're basing this on the models that we have right now and the track that we have right now from the National Hurricane Center. And I want you all to be prepared for rain and wind moving in with the remnants of Ian. The main timeline we're thinking would be on Friday, especially later Friday, and then through the day on Saturday is the time frame. Now, we can't be specific on the intensity yet, just because it all depends on where that track is going to go. So here's a look at the model comparison. The European model is the purple pink color here. The green circles that you see here, that's the American model. And you look for the center of circulation. That's that center of low pressure, as these are the isobars around that center of the low pressure system. It shows it going over Cuba, the western tip, and then through the Gulf of Mexico here. The American model showing a landfall earlier on Thursday near Tampa. The European more over here, showing a landfall a little bit later here up to the north. And then these models both are showing, once it moves inland, that center of circulation going really closer to Atlanta or even to the west of us. Now remember, the National Hurricane Center was showing the center over here near Augusta. So that's why I want to see this 11 o'clock advisory to see if they shift it more over to the west. And again, as I said, that would determine what type of impacts that we have here. Let's look at the wind impacts first. Of course, that wind all along the western coast of Florida. Then as it moves inland, you see it spreading the wind our way. It even starts turning breezy here on Thursday. Wind kicks up a little bit more on Friday, and then the strongest of the winds we're thinking will be on Saturday, where we can see 20 to 30 mile an hour winds and maybe even some wind gusts that are up to maybe 30 to 40 mile an hour winds. Now remember, I told you it depends on where the center of the storm goes, because different quadrants of the storm shows different impacts there. And the right front quadrant, as the storm moves up toward the north, it is on this side, the right front, almost like if you're in a car in the passenger seat, that's the side that's most active. More on that a little later.